Yo, open the fucking door, man. You said you was gonna be there when I came. Been knocking on the door for 5 minutes. I know you up there, man. Stop playing with me. Come on, man. Yo, fuck it. I'ma come up. I came to collect, motherfucker. Stop playing with me. Yo. Crazy, I can't sleep it off, man, I can't sleep it off. Thought I seen it all wrong again, my friend. Gotta get back, gotta get my act together, gotta get stacked, gonna get my band back out on the road. Last night got trashed, passed out on the floor. Shaved in about a week, no shake, bro. Sean owe me money and he ain't pay up. Who the gotta pray to the get caked up. Got a passenger within me like Dexter. When I'm stressed.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to a special edition of the Mau Mau Hour of this Revolution Podcast. I am your host, Jason Miles, and if you are new to the show, you want to get more updates like this, there's only one way. You're going to have to hit the bell, like and subscribe. Now that we got that out of the way. Oh yes, we're playing holiday music. Because it's the holiday season. We're going to play holiday music. Earlier, I was playing music from the new Clear Lake EP that will be dropping on Christmas Day. As soon as the clock strikes midnight, and Santa Claus, or whoever the hell is in the chimney, so that one comes out. Hope it's Santa Claus in the chimney. Some weirdo stalker. Watch way too much true crime and fucks me. Enough of that. Let me bring in the man of the Mau Mau Hour. We're going to talk about his latest piece that he wrote in Newsweek. My audio's low? Is that better? Is that better audio? Tell me my audio's low. I'll show you how loud I can get. Enough of the audio corrections. I wish you guys could see his face right now in the virtual green room. He is frowning, so excited to get in here and yell at me and everybody else. He is the Pascal Robert.
I was not frowning. Peace and greetings to the chat. Peace and greetings to the audience. Peace and greetings to Jason Miles.
I am going to turn down this Christmas music because it sounds like I'm stuck in a mall that I don't want to be at, which is all malls. All malls and all balls don't bounce. Coming all the way live, he's everyone's favorite professor at Missouri State University. He's the only, I take that back. He's not the only British person. He's our favorite Kurd. He's the only one we know, but if we knew more, he'd still be number one. And you know what? I'll say it. He's our favorite British person. If there's a list of British people that we love, it would be this person, and then Benny Hill, and then who else? And then the Queen. Yes, the Queen. He is me, Jean Bajlan.
Greetings, everybody. I have to say, I don't believe I'm everyone's favorite professor in Springfield because I got my student reviews this semester, and I think I upset a couple of people. There's been complaints that I force people to do too many readings, and they have to do too many writings. Although, not everybody was upset. Some people were upset. Some people were happy. But yeah, I would say I'm definitely not everybody's favorite professor.
Well,
not after what I read today.
Well, this is usually not what we do for a public show, but since this is the Mau Mau Hour, and it seems like it's just people that are friends of the show right now, I'm gonna put the chat on the screen. And Steve says Adele is his favorite British person. That's your favorite British person, Steve. Ours is Jean Bajlan. Then it's Benny Hill. Oh, and then it's kind of Gene. It's like you, and then the Doctor Who from the 80s.
There's two Doctor Who's from the 80s. There's Sylvester
the one
McCoy.
with the perm.
Oh, the one with the perm, not the one with the Bota hat.
No, Idris Elba.
Oh no, fuck that guy. Idris Elba would totally bang your girlfriend.
Oh, he's married, man.
I think Idris Elba comes off as a really stand-up guy, if you ask me.
Yeah, and then bam, right there.
Who likes to DJ the house music?
He does like to do. Hey, it's Jim Davis. Jim Davis is my friend in real life.
Friend in real life.
He's a friend in real life.
I thought Jim Davis, did he write Garfield?
Jim Davis did write Garfield too. Wait, where's Cuba?
Ah, you thought I forgot about Cuba?
Yeah.
You ruined the introduction.
Oh shit! I thought Cuba just disappeared.
No, he did not disappear. He's been there the whole time, waiting patiently in the wings to come out. But he is the heavy hitter. He fills in for Pascal. Fills in valiantly for Pascal. Ask the tough questions to historian Alfred McCoy.
People were impressed. It was normally none of us can shine next to Pascal when it comes to question asking, but Cuba, people were like, not bad, Cuba, not bad.
Cuba showed up and showed out. He is everyone's favorite middle manager of the Death Star, Deep State Cuba.
Hello,
Check
everyone.
Check out the t-shirt.
Did you see Cuba's t-shirt, his limited edition? This is Revolution limited edition tee.
Impressive.
That actually is a lyric from a song. That's where this show comes from. The show was called, since we're doing a retrospective, if you go back and listen to the early episodes, you'll notice that it's not called This is Revolution. It's called Soundwaves. That's where I lived. I lived in a studio called Soundwave. And originally the show was going to be a little bit more music centered, as I tried to use that as a way to get in to talk about political issues without being so heavy-handed, because my audience I knew wasn't going to be that into wanting to hear about politics. Originally, the audience, it definitely has changed since we started some 2 years ago, and that is a shirt that we sold on our last international tour. And
it's an excellent shirt. I recommend it.
I wish I had more of them. There are. I have like 3 more left, and I think they're all mediums. I think they're here.
But this is a special occasion situation, right? I know what I should be wearing, but I didn't want to show up to something called the Mau Mau Hour looking too PMC, right? Because that'll get you Mau Mau'd by mistake.
Or intentionally.
But that shirt, every time I see that, and I don't see it very often anymore, but seeing that shirt definitely brings back a lot of memories of that last tour, and also of the hopes for this show. And I've actually I don't want to say surprised, but I'm happy that I've succeeded my original expectations for what I thought this show could be. I'm really excited for the new year, for the new things that we have planned. The December 27th, our first episode that Pascal and I did for the Real News airs. I don't have a time yet for it, but I know it's December 27th. I'm excited for that. So this is it's time for us to kind of look back on the accomplishments of the year with this group of people. Who would have thunk that this motley crew would still be together? Are you shocked, Pascal?
Actually, no. Not at all. I think that it was a really fortuitous decision on Torre's part to suggest that we come together, because he knew that I had been talking about starting a podcast for several years, and it was the technical aspect that was kind of holding me up. I didn't know if I wanted to do an audio only. I didn't know if I wanted to have a YouTube component. I was not adept at the technical part at all. I had only up until that point been on maybe 3 podcasts, but they all performed really well. And people were like, no, you should start a podcast, blah, blah, blah. So I was talking to Torre. I was talking to his cousin, Kim, for several weeks about how should I do this, blah, blah, blah. And then he was like, hey, listen, I got this guy. I was on his show. And I was like, oh, yeah, I saw him when he had Cedric on. I like that guy. I was like, how old? And I was wondering, how come more people don't know about his show? And then he was like, hey, man, you should go on his show, see if you guys can work something out. I was like, bet. Did the first episode, which was the episode we did on Who Speaks for Black People. That was on Charlemagne the God and racial ventriloquism. And we had a very good show talking about the history of Black affairs television. And to this day, that's one of the most viewed shows we have on SoundCloud.
On SoundCloud.
To this day.
Well, yeah, next to Finkelstein. Everybody has to bow to Finkelstein.
Finkelstein is
next level.
That's
superlative. That's a whole nother.
Everything you could say and do in one show, wrong and right, was done on that episode. So
that was a crazy show.
But we did that show, and that was an audio only. There was no video component. Even though and then I think the next week. Did you have me on the show with Torre first?
I started doing the show. When I first started doing the show, I would record the show whenever someone would tell me they could do it. So I would sneak, when I was working at the homeless shelter, I would sneak into rooms and no one was in, and I would record episodes. Okay. If you listen to those early episodes, sometimes I'm really quiet because I have to do it. Like, oh, no one knows I'm here. I'll take my lunch break.
That's kind of epic. That's like guerrilla podcasting.
Guerrilla podcasting.
I was super guerrilla like whenever calling people in the UK at like 4 a.m. my time. So whenever someone had time, I would make time. And that's also why I got scolded by Avi Chomsky, because I was like 5 minutes late turning everything on, because I was like, anyway. So by the time Pascal comes on, I was doing 1 day a week live streaming. And so we had live streamed first before we did your solo episode.
Right, with Torre, you and Torre talking about
Boys in the Hood. We took kind of a huge shit on Boys in the Hood, if you guys haven't seen that.
That was actually a good show, and I think that show is still very popular, as a matter of fact.
It has, I thought, was going to be your more iconic line, which is that Black Power succeeded culturally where it failed politically. I thought that was actually going to be the thing that resonates,
right?
But no, Fatback and Biscuits was
Fatback and Biscuits, and the
way more than
and the 50-year counter revolution. Those kind of stand out. But yeah, you were doing live streams whenever we wanted,
and so
we did.
You don't remember this. So after my friend Cobra rebranded the show for me and said, Jason, listen, you have a great lyric in the song, call the show that lyric in the song, I'll make some images for you. He says, and only do the shows on these days. Stop trying to, you're gonna lose people because you do so many. I was like, okay. And so I said, Pascal, let's live stream on a Thursday, and we'll start doing Thursday live streams. and you were like 2 days a week. And then I can't remember who the guest was, but we couldn't get them on a weekday that we stream. We could only get them on a Saturday. So we did a special Saturday show. And then we started doing a Saturday show. And I remember always your face looking at me on the call like, 3 days a week? Oh man.
I was like 1 day a week is one time, and you were like 2 days, and you were like 3 days a week. And then we went to like live stream format. And before we did any of that, we had the end of the year show with Cedric and Torre, which was a great show.
Yes.
It was hilarious. It was a really good time. I wish we could replicate that. And then we started. It was not new for you because you had been doing it a year, but we kind of started in the format that we're doing. And I went back to look at some old shows, and we were getting like maybe 300 views a show, 200 views. I remember when we didn't even have 1,000. We waited. You know how long it took for us to get 1,000 subscribers before we could monetize the YouTube?
Shout out to Doug freaking Lane.
Yeah, and then when you said we could put our stuff on Zero Books, I was like, Zero Books? Fuck that. What the hell we want to do that for? And you were like, trust me. And I was like, okay, fine. Actually, I put up a big fight because I was like, I don't know who that motherfucker is. And you were like, no, man, trust it. It's going to work. I said, okay, no problem. And then that actually gave us a lot of exposure, because what's funny is that once we started to stream on Doug Lane's show, Doug immediately invited me on our show, like twice. He invited me on his show once, then me and you on his show. Then Ben Burgess invited me on his show. I was like, God damn, why all these motherfuckers invited me on their show? And I did not realize how much of a good thing we had going. And then, the people who watched Doug's show started coming in, and I was like, oh, all right, this is a good thing. So we started kind of going at like a regular clip, and we had a regular kind of small increase, and barely making 1,000 subs, and then we eventually got to 1,000 subs. At that time, we weren't even really like deep. We were like chatting with Gene, but Gene wasn't really even seriously like.
Gene bogarted his. Let's just be honest here. Gene Bajlan bogarted his way in, and I'm not mad at the bogard, but he did one of those things that people like me would do, and I think this is why I wasn't mad at it. He was like, who you need to get? You need to get my boy Kuba on the show. And then you need to get my homebro Maria on the show.
The thing, I actually remember this. The thing that was fascinating with the whole Gene thing is that, like, Sarah was a bigger fan of the show before Gene. Sarah was like off the cuff. She became like a patron. I was like, okay, shout out to Sarah. I like Sarah. Sarah's cool. And Gene was kind of watching after her lead. And I was like, okay, cool. Gene's good. And I know very early on, we started back and forth with Gene. I'm like, all right, this is cool. But at that stage, it was just kind of like me and Jason were doing our thing. And the turning point, frankly, the real turning point, the Doug thing was a turning point. Yes. Finkelstein was a major turning point. Now, we did Adolph Reed first. That was a big. I knew Adolph was going to give us definitely,
but that wasn't like.
So
it was Glenn Greenwald. It was Glenn
Greenwald. Let's be honest. It was Glenn Greenwald. It was Norm Finkelstein, and it was Glenn Greenwald retweeting the show, and not just retweeting the show, writing that you have to watch all 3 hours, and you will be upset that it was only 3 hours.
And that kind of like blew us up, like whoosh. People were like, "Oh yeah, wow!"
That was like, there was like. So people might not remember this. People who watch Zero Books, the reason I know Jason is because Doug Lane, right? Doug Lane. I was like, Doug invited me to become a reader for Zero Books, because we'd been talking a lot more after Michael Brooks died. Like we were, we wanted to say like, we should probably all stay in contact and think about doing projects in the future. And then Doug, I think in like November, invited me to featuring This Is Revolution.
I'm so sorry. I'm going to mute myself.
That's a good one. But I met Jason because we played a role play game on Zero Books, which has been since taken down by Zero Books' new owners. But we had a role play game we were playing, a live action role play game where Jason was playing a Marine, and Doug introduced me to Jason because he's like, I know this cool guy called Jason. He likes like games and things like that. He should join our game. And we had a good time playing. And then Doug got his divorce, and then it kind of fell off because he was too miserable. But I will take credit for this. Me and Vaughn were like, you know what you should do, Doug? You should totally have Jason broadcast a show on your channel. And he was like, that's a great idea, and we're going to do it. And so we did this. And then I asked you, Jason, I was like, I want to be on your show. I want to be part of your show. And also I said, and I kind of snuck Kuba in the door with me. So I was like, come on, let us in the nightclub. And, oh yeah, this is my buddy Kuba. He's just going to come in for 5 minutes. And, he's just going to use the bathroom. And then we just kind of never left.
Well, I mean, also I was assigned this case by my handler. So that was really the turning point for me.
Right.
You
So
like
my whole thing was like, I was cool with Jason, but I was like, well, who are all these white boys coming into the house here? What the hell's happening here, man? I was like, it was all this.
Are you not saying cracker because it's a racist term and we could?
No, I took cracker, peckerwood. I'm not wrong with that. Melanin deficient. But I mean, so
it hurts.
If you want to hear Pascal say cracker, recently we were on the Antifada show with Jamie Peck and Sean, and somehow DSA meetings came in the conversation. I don't even know what the conversation was about. And Pascal goes, I don't know what the problem is. Sometimes you just gotta smack a cracker in the face.
Oh man, it's Electrical Journeyman was one of our watchers on the roleplay game. If you remember, Jason.
I don't.
No, he was one of the followers on our roleplay game. Jean is technically not white. I don't know. Middle Eastern people are white in America.
No, that's not true.
No. I think he's arguing that the Welsh part isn't.
I think he's biracial. Gene is biracial, but anyways, the Gene was. I like Gene because he was Middle Easterner. He knew a lot about the Muslim world and Islam, and for me that was like cool, no problem. Cuba, that was kind of a problem off the bat. I was like, all right,
I could tell.
I was like, this motherfucker.
I love the dynamic with everybody, and when we originally had Maria on, that was a real fun show, and I'm really happy. And
Maria, I liked right away.
I'm proud of the fact that we were able to finagle Maria to get her own show, even if it's monthly. So again, there's so many things that have happened, and there's so much in the works. Like if you guys, sometimes I wish there was a way I don't like to tweet a lot about shit that's going on or talk a lot about shit that's going on unless I'm like actually talking to people.
Well, let me tell you, Jason.
Yeah.
Let me cut you off for a second.
Yeah.
This is sad to say, but it's true. You know what was the big, like, major turning point for the show, right?
What's that?
When the Haitian president got assassinated.
Oh, that was big for us, yeah.
Oh yeah, you got like Majority Report was another big boost.
That was
for the
huge.
show.
That only happened because of the assassination.
Yeah.
Wait, so are you confessing?
No.
I mean, I have to.
Easy.
Easy,
Look, I'm happy. People are saying like they stumbled upon the show. Anyone that has stumbled upon this show and even just hit the subscribe button or even just hits the like button and keeps watching it, I hope you're laughing with us. I hope you're learning with us. It's definitely a learning experience because there's a lot of research that goes into every one of these shows. And this is a real show. This is not like just a Happy Days fucking montage clip show. Pascal wrote an article. Before we get too nostalgic, Pascal wrote an article recently for Newsweek, and the first draft does not look like the one you guys read. So I kind of want to talk a little bit more about the first draft of the piece, where Pascal takes a very long, hard look at the racial wealth gap. Pascal.
Yeah, that piece was inspired. All of this, I'll be very frank, was intentionally contrived. And how it was intentionally, well, I guess anything that is contrived is intentional, so that's kind of redundant. But how it was contrived was As Jason knows, we recently had to interview Adolph Reed for our first episode of the Real News Network, based on an article that Adolph wrote for Socialist Register that was behind a paywall. So what we did is that we asked Torre and Adolph to send us the article, and they did. That because we knew we were going to interview Adolph. Me and Jason, we read the article. Now the article was like 22, 25 pages. So we read the article. I read the article and I was like, yo, this article is off the freaking chain. And it's too damn good to be behind a fucking paywall. So I'm reading these gems in this article. I'm like, yo, this article is really, really just off the meat racks. And I'm seeing some quotes about the racial wealth gap. I was like, ooh, this is a good one. Let me come back to that one. Let me go back to that one. So we both read the article. We do the interview with Adolph. Now, I had always been aware of Matt Brunig's study because I had posted that way in August of last year, showing how the racial wealth gap is really between the top 10% of blacks and the top 10% of whites, which is something I had known all the time anyway for a long time. And but I never really read deeply into Brunig's article because I was familiar with the general argument. So I read the quote in Adolph's article in Socialist Register, where he says, literally, if you make the bottom 90% of blacks and the bottom 90% of whites equal in wealth, you'll still have 77.5% of the racial wealth gap. And I was like, God damn. I was like, yo, this whole thing is a ruse, because I'll be very candid with you guys. When the whole ADOS thing kicked off and they were all like, oh, the racial wealth gap. Everyone was saying the racial wealth gap. The racial wealth gap. Oh, we got the data. We got the data. We got the data. The racial wealth gap. We got the data. Motherfuckers losing their mind because of this shit. And I'll be very honest with you. I instinctively, my first reaction when I was seeing everyone flip out about the racial wealth gap was, this is a con game. And I'm going to be very transparent. And Jason will attest to this. Do you know why I thought it was a con game? I've never met a black person in my whole over 50 years that was shocked that white people had a lot more money than black people. I mean, Jason, was that ever shocking to you in your life?
No.
I mean, the racial wealth gap was extraordinarily influential among white college students, though, right? It for them, it was kind of the empirical evidence that there was something scandalous going on, but a lot of it just gets channeled into like SJW woke energy.
Well, not just that.
Let me make my point. Let me tell you why point 2, I knew the racial wealth gap discourse was bullshit. And I put the data intentionally in the article. I got this data, if anyone wants to know, from When Affirmative Action Was White, Ira Katznelson's book on how the New Deal advantaged whites, which the book is kind of controversial now. When it first came out, it was a big deal. It's controversial now because it's one of the books that has people saying things like, oh, black folk never got anything out of the New Deal. And, you know, it's one of those books that kind of Torre, in retrospect, has a problem with because it got people into this whole idea. I was reading that book years ago, and I promoted it to a lot of people because I thought the argument was pretty impressive. But it really led to a lot of bad rationalization about, yes, there were aspects of the New Deal that were racially unjust, but there were lots of black people who did get benefits from the New Deal as well, particularly the Works Projects Administration. But I'm digressing. One of the really fascinating statistics that Katznelson has in that book, that I'll be very honest, it blew my mind when I read it, was that up until like the 1960s, like 60% of black labor was sharecroppers and domestic workers. I was like, what? Now, you understand, I grew up in New York City. My parents are from the island. I knew a lot of African Americans who came from the South. But usually the black folk in New York who come from the South come from like North Carolina, Virginia. which is not like hardcore heavy slave cropping territory. So you don't know how stunned I was when I'm finding out. Like, yo, I have friends of mine, Black American friends of mine, who literally had parents that were sharecroppers. I was like, what the fuck kind of gone with the wind ass bullshit is this in this country here? I was like, yo, there were motherfuckers picking cotton until the I mean, I knew there were sharecroppers, but like 60% of Black people.
You know who else was a cotton picker? Was Tammy Wynette. Stand
Well,
by
this
your
is the
man.
thing I learned later. There were
We
more
call that a
white
peasantry in Europe.
sharecroppers than Black ones.
We call that the peasantry. Americans don't like to think of the Southern economy of being a peasant economy, but
They don't like the word peasant at all unless it's from a high school girl as a put down.
Yeah, exactly. But that's what it was. You had like basically, I mean, what was Jim Crow but a type of serfdom, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a wealth extraction. It was a wealth extraction.
You know, it was racial serfdom.
But let me give you a third reason why that statistic was so important to me. So I started to do more research as well. I started to do more research on levels of Black poverty, so on and so forth. And then when I learned that up until 1960, 55% of Black people lived below the poverty line, imagining what the poverty line is in 1960. And that like during the Brown v. Board of Education case in 1954, the number of Black people below the poverty line was like something like 65, almost 70%. And the alarm that's ringing in my head is, and Jason, I know we talk about this all the time with all these dumb bastards, particularly these dumbass millennials who say like, it was integration that messed up everything for us. When we was in Jim Crow, we had our own businesses.
That's one of Killer Mike's favorite lines, man.
Yeah. And everything was wonderful. I was like, yo, have these morons ever looked at what Black infant mortality was like in 1959?
Mm-hmm.
Do you know how many fights I've gotten with Negroes on social media who say that romancing Jim Crow shit? I said, yo, do you understand that over 60% of Black labor until the 60s were picking cotton, driving as chauffeurs, or being maids in a white folks' house? You want to go back to that shit? That's the glory days? What the fuck are you talking about?
Well, it could be that they come from the 40% that wasn't, and
no, it doesn't. It comes from this
yeah.
fantasy Black nationalist nonsense that Jason, you see in those videos from Tony Brown, where people were saying it's like, we have, watching John Henry Clark, we used to have hotels, we used to have stores, and everything was wonderful. Stores owned by like 0.2% of Black people who were getting rich, sucking the blood of tons of other Black people who those stores were so broke, they weren't hiring the most of those Black people who were still working as domestics for white people.
I mean,
just like a perfect example when we celebrated the Tulsa race riot this year, everyone was like, "Oh, Black Wall Street," and then people started demonstrating. I was like, "Yo, all the Black people in Tulsa were working for white folk, and they had no major industry.
Oil.
Why are we calling this Black Wall Street?"
Oh, you mean the Black people or Oklahoma?
In Oklahoma, the Black people in Tulsa.
Oh, the oil was a major industry, from my understanding.
Yeah, but the thing is, so most of the Black folk was still working for white people.
I don't know if the Negroes owned any wells, but I know, I know that. I believe there was no bank they owned or insurance company.
But it makes total sense why those things would be celebrated, because you will try these, you know, like you talk about, the Black elite want to construct a narrative in which they say, look, we should be part of this elite, and we have a tradition of being part of this elite. And their PMC white colleagues, they buy into this because the fact that, you know, whites, you know, like white identity politics is being critical in the construction of the American elite kind of undermines their vision that there's a meritocracy. So if you're a liberal person, you know, you want to believe that you got your position through merit, and the historical racial biases kind of show that that's not the case. So you have these two forces, the desire of a Black elite to reconstruct themselves as a capitalist elite and provide a historical argument for that, and a liberal technocratic elite that believes in meritocracy but cannot square the idea of a meritocracy if everybody's white, because it's just so obvious of the historical racial bias in that. So they buy into that. It's an elite politics, as you say.
There's a lot of reactionary black nationalists who like to buy into that bullshit too. I mean, I saw people today talking about, yeah, we own hotels, we don't own shit. Now I was like, you dumb bastard! You know that black people own more businesses today than they owned under Jim Crow. I was like, what kind of moron? And as if that translates into wealth comprehensively for the black community. But anyway, Katz Nelson's book led me down the primrose path of all of that analysis to collapse this fantasy romancing Jim Crow. It was integration that messed us up bullshit that these nationalist morons say all the time without actually knowing the raw numbers and data. And I go apoplectic whenever I hear that stupid shit. And people say it a lot to this day.
It's triggering you. I can see it's triggering. Just thinking about it is triggering you.
Oh, it's so annoying. So when I saw, is this podcast black owned? Yeah, it's a cooperative. Plus, when I saw Adolf make that analysis off of Brunig's numbers, that literally, if you match up the bottom 90% of blacks and whites, you still have 77% of the racial wealth gap. Then I was like, oh, then this fulfills all of the evidence I knew was needed to show that this whole discourse is horseshit. Because my instincts off the bat, not trying to make it seem like I have spidey sense, this racial wealth gap stuff literally starts coming around after Occupy, right before Bernie Sanders' election, around the same time, after black people lose all of that wealth. And my first reaction, I was like, this is a real cynical play to get black folk to start racial navel gazing. Guess what piece comes out right around this time? Ta-Nehisi Coates, The Case for Reparations. And I'm like, you know what? I smell a fucking rat.
Oh, I thought you were gonna say a fart.
I mean, it doesn't have to be a rat, right? Like, it could just be a convergence of like ideological disposition. He was working at the Atlantic for a while, right?
He's a little shit rag, so we know that.
And he's around a lot of white PMC types that talk to him, that are like his friends and colleagues. And I think that if that happens, then you start understanding who your audience is and how to talk.
Well, I've stated publicly, I'm convinced I know what the motivation was for the case for reparations shit, based on something that my good friend and mentor before he died, Bruce Dixon, told me. He said, anytime a black politician starts to get in trouble or his political prospects start falling, the first thing he does to show up as racial bona fides, reparations!
Did you guys see The Wire and the mayor's race there? Right, like the
Carcetti.
Yeah, Carcetti, and the old mayor that he beat was black, and he thinks that he's got it in the bag, like that a white boy can't beat him in Baltimore. But as soon as it starts getting close, he's like, "Get me a dashiki," like.
But between the show and I'm sorry, the comments are kind of the funniest they've been in a minute. Maybe it's because we've been doing so many
heavy shows.
No, we've just been doing so many pre-records that I'm not used to seeing people actually respond in real time. So this is actually very fun to be doing this again. So yeah, thank you guys.
Best chat on YouTube.
Yeah, the chat was lively for when Kuba and I played 3 hours of Hearts of Iron 4.
Yeah. I mean,
Kuba didn't do anything.
More attention to the chat than the game.
All he was doing was developing Japan as a peaceful country. It's like, this is a war game.
As one does.
And Kuba's he's like, I'm gonna just research computer technology so I can invent the internet before everybody.
Yeah, we're gonna have the internet by 1950, and then Pearl Harbor.
Well, when did that university in Hawaii discover the ability to use Wi-Fi? Wasn't that in the 60s?
I don't know.
Don't know the answer to
It's
that.
the University of Hawaii campuses because they're all on different islands.
Yeah, Victoria 3. I'm not playing Victoria 2 because I'm going to wait for Victoria 3 to come out. You know, there's this video game called
1971,
Victoria
Aloha
3.
Net.
1971, you said?
Yes.
Aloha Net, yeah.
But the point I was trying to convey to Kuba was that the main reason I knew Coach was pulling people's legs was that he starts to draft this. This is the case for reparations sob story right when Obama's presidential, prospects are falling apart with Trayvon Martin and all this other stuff, and all of a sudden it's like the case for reparations because his Black History Month fantasy is collapsing in front of his eyes. So he's like, if the first Black president can't succeed, then only reparations can save us.
We were 8 years in power.
Yeah, we were 8 years in power, and Barack Obama is the new Malcolm X. Do you see that? You ever read that piece where he compares Obama to Malcolm X?
Did he
Look,
that?
I remember when Ta-Nehisi Coates, I wouldn't say he shit on Cornel West, but Cornel West, this is what, 2015 or so? 2015,
didn't he have a conflict with him in 2016? Because
2016, that's when it was.
I was in America when this happened. I remember.
Yeah, that was bad for Cornel West, man, because Ta-Nehisi Coates' people were like, a lot of young people were like, dude, you're old and we don't give a shit about you.
Yeah,
or the
people were like, I will tell you that I wrote the first. I know this for a fact. I wrote the first public criticism of Ta-Nehisi Coates. First of all, this guy, when he was writing online, I was never impressed with the dude. I was like, yeah, he has a good flair of the pen, but his content is shit. I had friends of mine who were like, oh, Ta-Nehisi, man, he's just the shit. I was like, Coates? I was like, are you joking me? I was never impressed with this dude. He wrote this piece, The Code of the Streets, and talking about how, all Black men have this inner code where you come at them at the wrong place and the wrong time.
Yeah.
And they just punch you in the face. I was pissed. I was like,
don't you know, though, Pascal, that Negroes that have never been in a fight and that are so far from the hood that could be hood adjacent love shit like that? They love shit.
Isn't this a Dave Chappelle skit, right? Like when keeping it real goes wrong?
I know it's a Boondock skit.
I mean, Ta-Nehisi Coates is a Dave Chappelle skit.
He looks, he always looks so sad.
Ta-Nehisi Coates is doing Dave Chappelle's material straight, right?
Pretty much.
You take all the humor out of it, and all the irony, and you like amp up the anger, then that's how you get from Dave Chappelle to Ta-Nehisi Coates.
Like, I'm from a really bad area. I have literally had to dodge bullets. I remember having on the weekends.
How often?
The weekends were when it got hot. We lived across the street from a really popular crack house that would get raided quite often.
Okay. Weekly is bad.
And my brother, I'm 9 years older than my younger brother, and I remember he would jump up and want to see, because when bullets fire like that, the sky lights up. So for him, it's fireworks. So he would always, when we get down, he'd always want to get up and be like, "Oh, the fireworks!" It's like, no, you're good. And so yeah, you got to be tough, I guess, but also there's something to be said about trying to avoid trouble when you live in that kind of environment. I didn't walk around with a gun.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
I read that bullshit piece though. Like, this is the dumbest shit. And then I
wrote
it's
make believe.
It's make believe. I wrote this piece in Black Agenda Report called "The Danger of the Culture, Black Cultural Tour Guide," and I just ethered him. I was like, this motherfucker gets his image of Black people from hip hop videos and Tribe Called Quest CDs, and I just like went in on him. And that shit, when people were Black journalists, the Black sharing class. On social media, they were killing me. It was like, "Oh, you're crabs in a barrel. You're just jealous." I was like, jealous of this?
That I remember, dude, because Cornel West had said some shit, then everybody shit on him. Like, Ta-Nehisi Coates is the kind of cat that watches a movie like Menace to Society and goes, I could have been O-Dog. It's like, no, you wouldn't have been. There's no way in the world you would have been. Shut up.
I was like, I can't believe everyone is sweating this dumb bastard. Are you kidding me?
Well,
You know,
what's his
and
name?
then
Somebody in the chat just said it. Like, Ta-Nehisi Coates, as Kuba said, he knows who his audience is because, like, somebody in the chat said, black people will listen to Umar Johnson and what's the pimp guy called? The one who
Bishop Don Magic Wand.
don't tell what Tariq Nasheed.
Yeah, Tariq Nasheed.
Oh.
People will listen to those guys, right? Like they have a base of support. But like if you're writing for the Atlantic, you're writing for maybe Joyanne Reed and a bunch of people
Black
who went
PMC.
to Harvard, and people who went to white people who went to Harvard who want to be woke.
Yeah, that's it. The whole man. A large part of the wokeness fuckery starts with Ta-Nehisi Coates. It's all the Afro pessimism was like, yeah,
bruh. I'm telling you, you got to watch this show on net, even just to hate watch a couple episodes. This show on Netflix is by the people that do Gene's favorite show, Supergirl. That all American shit with who's the dude that was in Stella Got Her Groove Back, little black guy. Everybody wanted to fuck him back in the 90s. Little black dude. He was in The Wood and all that other 90s shit.
Talking about Lorenz Tate?
No, not that. He wasn't in them movies. The little black dude.
He
was in The Wood.
I didn't see The Wood. I don't watch these
Man. He was in The Best Man. Sorry, he was in The Best Man. Best Man. You don't know these black ass movies?
Tay Diggs? Yeah, man. It's been too long.
Tay Diggs. I don't even I know who Tay Diggs is. He's a very handsome gentleman.
Pascal, I had to yell at a young lady the other night because she'd never seen Boomerang. So you better know who Tay Diggs is.
I try to forget these motherfuckers.
Why? I enjoyed Stella Got Her Groove Back. I can't help being 20. You remember that? My Tay Diggs makes him sound less Jamaican and more Indian, but you see why I did.
That did sound like that did sound. I'm not allowed to do my accents on camera in case we get canceled. You know, it's a dangerous time out there for doing accents.
Man. But the one thing I was happy is when Coates stuck the shiv in Bernie Sanders for over the reparations stuff, and then all of his white liberal former supporters were like, I can't believe what he did to Bernie. Oh my God. And then it was like cool to go in on Coates. I was like, oh, this is great. I get to finally shit on this guy and not have to deal with any crap.
Didn't he roll that back in the end? Didn't he
he rolled. The damage was done. The damage was done. And he was like, well, I'll support Bernie, but he's the radical. I was like, reparations is not radical, you dumb bastard. Yeah.
Do you
It said I did in a poo. So Tay Diggs, if you watch this show, Pascal, the reason why I brought up this show before everybody made me laugh really hard, it's everything you're talking about with the Ta-Nehisi Coates piece. It's just tropes that don't even exist anymore when it comes. It's about sports and like high school sports. I'm like, this isn't even how high school sports operates anymore.
Yeah, it's like mythologizing, right? It's mythologizing, and it's like Pascal talks about it all the time. It's you have these tropes that flatten the diversity of the black people in America, and that flattening is not just done by outsiders. It's done by an intellectual class that is attempting to leverage the existence of a distinct community to
they pimp. Let's call a spade a spade. They want to pimp black misery out for their fucking paycheck.
Well, I don't think I would. I don't think I could say that.
Pascal, speaking of black misery, do you want to comment on the black misery that was getting pimped out that you shared with me and Teray?
Oh my God! ABC's doing a whole documentary on Emmett Till's mother. From what year was Emmett Till killed? Oh, the strength. We got Michelle Obama in there. Oh, what Emmett Till's mother went through is all black mothers can empathize with that. I was like, this black trauma porn shit is just fucking endless, man. These Negroes are really trying to pimp out for some sympathy. Fatback and biscuits here.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. Pretty bad.
Can we I had to look up what Fatback and Biscuits was actually, because I was like, where do I buy Fatback and Biscuits? Because it looks pretty good if you ask me.
When we come here and do our show, our terrace talks with everybody when everybody flies out. I will make fatback. Well, not for Pascal.
Pascal can't have fatback.
He can't have it. He'll have a regular biscuit sans fatback.
Like skinny back?
Skinny back?
He'll have a
Fat
white
front?
We call it a white girl biscuit.
Oh. They did sell. Did they sell at Popeyes? I actually went to Popeyes yesterday.
I'm waiting to go back to America. And
Andy William, Holocaust Industry explained the archetype. Very good.
Ooh, yes. Beyond
Beyond fatback and biscuits. We need a fatback and biscuits T-shirt. I think I want to ask the chat this. Like, chat, what merch do you want? Because we've been talking about doing more merch, and we've had several ideas. But
can you say the idea though, Gene, about the Iraqistan Liberation Front shirt?
Oh yeah, I want a Iraqistan Liberation Front T-shirt where like we're all in the thing, dressed as like 1970s Palestinian style left wing, radicals with like the Iraqistan Liberation Front written in Turkish, Kurdish, Arabic, and Persian on it. I think.
I wish I remember what show that was that I fucked up instead of Rakistan because I was trying to say something else.
That's the best. That's the I'd buy an Iraqistan T-shirt. You see, like an Iraqistan, like I think people, but like a lot of the things on the
wants
show.
to go to Iraqistan, but like real men want to go to Syrakistan.
Iraqistan. The only issue is that some of the phrases we might have on the show, if we put them on a T-shirt. And then just like regular white people with them walking down the street,
You'll be reported.
They might be taking that. Like I remember somebody suggested, why don't we have like Ta-Nehisi Coates and Barack Obama eating like fatback and biscuits on a T-shirt, and it was like, I don't think white people could wear that.
We can't. There's certain things that we want to do. Like, look, I'm not afraid. Let me say
Harriet Tubman Black, Tubman Black card.
Let me say this. Let me be honest and say this. I am not afraid to push envelopes, but I do have to be somewhat aware that it's not just me, and I have other people's lives. So, when my mom called me and said, "Don't do the Harriet Tubman thing ever again," that was too much. The Harriet Tubman's face on the black Amex card, which I thought was funny. But when my mom has to get involved and be like, "Look, I'm not going to tell you what to do. Don't do that again."
Jason has no sympathy for Negro sensibilities.
So I doing merch, like the Anglo-pessimism thing, was funny and we could get away with it. And I definitely see white people will tag us in the shirt. I love it. I think it's fucking hilarious. But
Vaughn has a Anglo-pessimism T-shirt. I saw him wearing.
Steve, you are the comedic genius of the show. You and Gigi kind of keep me rolling, and you guys feed off of each other, and I love it. 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 I love it some more. I do want to address this question since this is the Mau Mau hour, and we've been talking for 53 minutes. Do you think that Coates' success could be related to him being a college professor?
Coates is a college dropout. He wasn't a college professor when he was writing this nonsense.
He's a professor now, isn't he?
He's a professor now because
he becomes a professor.
He got the biscuits, the fatback, and the extra gravy.
I mean, look
they serve that at the faculty lounge. That's how you get it.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, look what happened to Hannah Nicole. What's her name? Yeah. They gave her the biggest fatback and biscuits, which I always find is funny. It's like they're going to set up a journalism school at Howard University to train journalists that will not be able to get jobs as journalists because there's no freaking jobs in journalism.
Yeah, she's getting a nice endowed chair, all that nonsense.
Catherine Liu does own 2 Anglo-pessimism shirts. She bought one for her and one for her husband. And Catherine Liu will hopefully be in the Terrace Talks. So that is a real thing that's going to happen. Unless Doug Lane flakes, he will be the first guest around the middle of January. We're going to actually do shows here on the terrace. It'll be all pre-recorded. So I'm looking forward to that.
Look, if you're worried about Doug flaking, just tell him there's like some 45-year-old Karens around there, and he'll be there.
Doug is going to be very disappointed by what he sees here.
Yeah, well, just he'll be there. Yes, somebody said it in the chat. I want to see Catherine Liu wearing that T-shirt to the faculty meeting with Frank Wilderson.
Oh, that would be priceless.
You are trying to get Catherine in a fist fight.
Catherine Liu is like when I see Catherine Liu on Twitter, I see the screams of a person who has to live in California academia. Like, I can't even imagine. Like, Springfield, like Missouri State, it's like pretty normal. It's pretty chill. There's a little bit of woke things here, but it's not annoying. Everything is very professional. It's very chill, but I cannot imagine working in a place like where Frank Wilderson is. And I have a colleague who was at that university and said, like, Frank Wilderson, and she was not impressed with Frank Wilderson. She was like, the guy is like a god around that university.
He runs a department. Is it after him?
I don't even want to talk about this shit because the motherfucking North Sea.
I mean, I don't want to get to it because I am personal friends with people in his department that it is not. Yeah.
Look at this. David's trying to cause trouble. Will there be another Stalin discussion?
I try not to have Stalin discussions, David, because what happens is people want to tag us on other people that have been on the show's takes on certain things. And
yeah,
because you're a guest on the show, we don't endorse every position that you have. Like, maybe we should say that. Like, we disagree with each other.
Yes.
So if you come on our show,
Stalin,
we disagree with each other, and if you come on the show because there's something you've written that we want to discuss, we think it's interesting, it doesn't mean we endorse every opinion of yours. And it gets frustrating when people try to drag us in their internet beef, because we are not the internet beef people. We don't do debate shows. And we try not to necessarily start internet beef, but Kuba has done a video essay that Gene made some edits to, and we added some new music to, and it'll be up. Is it Monday, Gene?
Yep. So
Part one for the Russian Revolution.
Yeah. So we actually have it's a two-parter. One of them is the Paths to Communism, which was initially look who's coming. Someone's coming to say hi.
Does he have pants on?
Does he have pie? He wants to say hi. Say hi.
Hi.
Hi, Zal.
Hey, Zal, say
Zal.
Mao. Say Mao the bourgeoisie.
Mama bourgeoisie.
Well done,
All
Zal.
right.
Well done. Shots fired. Yes. The first part was originally a Zero Books video, which was taken down by Zero Books. So we're going to redo it. It's called Paths to Communism. It was very popular, so I'm going to redo it from the original, put some new things on. And the second part is all about how Lenin consolidated power, and specifically his three core promises, which were peace and an end to a war, the resolution of the national question,
and land to the peasants.
And land to the peasants.
So we're getting Cuba's version of the Russian Revolution and Russian history. Oh, this is going to be great.
It's good. You're going to like it, Pascal. You're going to like it.
Okay.
I sent you the video to look at.
He didn't look at it.
No, I don't get it.
Clearly. I read all your Newsweek articles.
Yeah, what a dick.
When did that happen? When did you say that to me?
I sent it to you guys weeks ago. Oh, maybe I didn't send it to Pascal though. Okay. I'm not gonna. I did.
You sent it to me to make sure it was cool, like that everything worked, and I got on you about the goddamn piano.
Oh yeah, I had to change the music.
That's when we got new music in there.
And Jason was like, "Why are you putting Chopin in that? Put my goddamn music in there." I was like, "Okay, no Chopin."
I pulled Barry Gordy. No. Look, it's not even on some arrogant, you got to play my music shit. It's just on some, even when we use license-free music, I get hit with these copyright.
Even when we use your music, you get hit with those.
I just got it removed. The Sam Cedar show, they were trying to say that it was not my music, so that shit was fucking frustrating.
Yeah, YouTube is crazy.
I hope you're right that there's 30,000 subscribers by the end of 2022. We'll see.
This was like the fastest mile hour ever.
Gigi, how do you know about Comrade Kenny and me? You had to have watched that show.
Wow, this has been a fast hour. This is a great show.
Yeah, well, it's good. It's good, like reprising the year. It's been one hell of a year. Like at the beginning of the year, how many patrons did you have, Jason? Like 20?
The beginning of 2020 or 2021?
At the beginning of 2021.
What years is 2021?
Yeah, less than 300.
Yeah, we didn't have a lot at all.
It was under 100. I'm pretty sure it was under 100 when you went into the year.
Gigi's over here talking about that they watched the Kenny thing. That was only on Left Flank Vest, wasn't it, Pascal?
That was a barbershop episode.
Was that the one where you threatened to beat someone up over ice cream?
That chocolatey fucker said some dumb shit about, and that's why black people don't like butter pecan ice cream.
Yeah.
Or we only like butter pecan ice cream. Whatever the fuck he said, it was some dumbass shit.
The Hotep Marxist Canadian.
Oh man.
Well, yeah, like we have to. Somebody has.
Hotep Marxist Canadian.
Yeah, it's not even worth bringing up, man.
Yeah, Marcus had some cat on his show, and this motherfucker. I was late to the show, and Pascal didn't get a chance to give me the heads up that this dude was on some Hotep fuckery, and I jump on the thing, and old boy was on some silly shit, and I was like, "You on some silly shit?" And then he just, "Are you just gonna yell at me?" "Yeah, I'm gonna yell at you, and I'm gonna go to fucking Toronto and slap shit out of you."
Yeah, that's the thing. Like people think Pascal's the one who's gonna come and slap the shit out of him. It's Jason who's gonna come slap the shit out of him. You know, Pascal's. You know,
Hotep's claiming ice cream.
But someone, we do have to give M. Toussaint a shout out, big time. M. Toussaint.
Oh, thank you, Mr. McGuire. Say like my interview on Redacted to Life. Well done, appreciate it.
Wow, we're trying to give M. Toussaint a shout out, and you over here want to wave your dick around.
I didn't hear about M. Toussaint.
Can you tuck your dick for a second? You can't hear it when you look too busy dick tucking. Tuck it. Sorry, Pascal. Can you give M. Toussaint a shout out, Pascal, please?
Shout out M. Toussaint. Where have you been?
Can you say it in Haitian language?
Ça passe M. Toussaint qui j'en qui nouvelle.
And she's always promoting the show in the MR chat, apparently. She's doing the Lord's work for us.
Hotep pecan.
Hotep pecan ice nuts.
Yeah.
Dude, I try to forget. That was one of the things I hated that show. I was so mad. Marcus had to he yelled at me at one point. I was so mad.
Well, I hope you're not so angry.
Anyway. I gotta go to sleep early. I gotta do a show tomorrow, and everyone knows what show it is. I'll be on Black Power Media tomorrow morning, kids.
Oh,
Black Power.
9:25 a.m.
Are you on with Jared Ball?
I think Jared's on the media in the morning. Yeah.
No, that's not Jared Ball.
The roundup, the morning.
Oh, the morning roundup you're going to be on?
Yeah, the morning show. Yeah.
Oh, Jesus.
That should be interesting.
That should be very interesting.
Well, it's been a crazy year, and we've still got pre-records coming. There's going to be
good pre-records coming.
We've got Pascal's going to be pre-recording a Haiti special
for Haitian Independence Day, January 1st. That should be good.
Kuba's doing a Slav special about oligarchs, and I recorded my Kurdistan super panel today. So, you know, we have a bunch of shows coming up soon. So we are not leaving you high and dry for the holidays like some other shows do.
Sweet content.
You'll get your sweet content.
And I have to give a shout out to Pascal for that before we all go do our own thing. Pascal really pushed to get all new shows because I was very ready to play some older shows that didn't get enough views that I thought were very, very good. So right now I want to say go back and watch the show we did with Billy Mintz on the Guardians. I thought that was one of our better shows.
Yeah, that was fantastic.
And,
That was
it's
a great
topic
show.
that not a lot of people talk about right now. It's one of the biggest. It is the biggest wealth transfer we will see, which is from the Boomer generation to the Millennial and Zoomer generation, and how people are
You know, it's going to
literally
be
trying
to the
take this-
Boomer generation to their guardians and custodians.
Ooh.
Check
Yeah,
out
it
the Kali Akuno show is good too.
Oh yeah,
Both.
that was. Yeah, the
Both.
Kali Akuna show was good. Yeah, so people should go back and check
And if
out
you haven't seen it, please go back and watch Norm Finkelstein's show. You'll see the original Saturday Crew, which was Paul Prescott, who had to leave the show to go run for office, and Angela Walker. So, M. Toussaint, we appreciate you. I appreciate you probably more than I say, even on the intros to the audio onlys. Because people can't see the work that you do in the chat, from taking out the sex porn bots to
There are a lot of sex porn bots these days, I've noticed.
You just have to ask them to leave politely, though, and they'll usually do it.
what's another good and another great episode I wanted to re-air was Pascal's first appearance on the show with the Touré Reed, where we look at Boys in the Hood, and I can't remember the name of that episode off the top of my head.
Yeah, all the Vaughn shows were good. The one that you guys did on Eugene Debs when our guest was a
That
no-show,
was very good.
that was a great show.
Oh, and the first episode I ever did with Derek Varn is one of the more listened to shows, and it's Derek Varn interrogating David Harvey's theory of neoliberalism.
There we go. So there's a pretty good.
We got a deep catalog, man. We got a deep bench.
We've built. I think we built a good network this year too. We've got like a lot of friends of the show, and it's been a real pleasure with working with you guys for this whole year. I mean, I think like people don't realize it, but us four, we're like pretty much talking every day in either the chat or on the.
We call each other every day.
Multiple times sometimes.
Multiple times sometimes, yeah.
I'm sorry I had to get off the phone call. I had to talk to the Real News earlier today because I didn't want to yell at you guys about that goofy shit that happened earlier. But I want to say from the bottom of my very, very, very black soul, thank you guys so much. If you guys are patrons, I will be dropping the new Christmas EP for patrons. I'll probably do it tonight since I have to leave Mexico tomorrow. So check that out. I'm very, very proud of it. Napoleon the Legend contributed a verse for the thing, so I'm pretty stoked for that. It's all new music that I wrote in the last week of solitude, and it's inspired by all of you. So hopefully you guys appreciate it. And I want to say a big thank you to Jean Bajlan that does so much back-end work. Thank you so much. Kuba also does a lot of unsung back-end work. And of course, my co-host, my homie, my dog, the Pascal Robert.
Thank you.
And let's go out with everybody's favorite. And quick for the chat, let me know, should I change it up for the new year? Should I do a new cartoon montage?
Oh, totally. We've earned a new intro and a new montage for the new year. I think we've earned one.
Don't mess with what works.
Yeah, but like with the same music, but like some exciting new intro.
I like this. Okay, I will. Okay, I definitely have some ideas of some other.
You're so much better at video editing than you were at the beginning of the year. So I reckon you can pull something. You can pull something monster out.
Oh, the horror movies. Should we use horror movies or should we use more of Jason's childhood cartoons?
Cartoons, man.
Okay, cartoons it is. Peace.